Good morning, everybody. BDO44 coming into another video. Running some errands today. Feeling pretty good. The Lakers don't play an early game today. There's no Bible study for me to be on this side of town for, but I'm probably still staying on this side of town because I got to do a few things that are requiring me to basically stay on this side of town. So, not going to make it to Hollywood today, I don't believe, but I do have time to walk and talk, so that's exactly what I intend to do. The Lakers are who I want to talk about right now because we're on a 5-game winning streak. We've beaten some really depleted basketball teams. We feel really good about that, having a soft part of the schedule and taking care of it. We had some years in the past, some games in the past where we did not take care of business. We have games like this and we would just lose them and leave a lot of wins on the table. And it's hard to fight in regards to your seeding when you don't capture the ones you're supposed to take care of. So if anything I can say about this Laker team is through 13 games, I think they've only left really one game on the board that needed to be won, and that was probably the Detroit game, for which if you pay close attention to the Detroit Pistons, they're much improved and have some really athletic players that attack us in some ways that we really can't overcome. I think if we played the Pistons this week, with the changes that we've made to our team, the rotations and stuff like that, I think we probably have a better shot at defending them a bit better. I think it was that game that taught us that there were some things that needed to change, moving D'Lo to the bench, stuff like that. I think Detroit would have a bit more trouble with us today than they did the game that we played them. But at that time, those adjustments, of course, had yet to be made. And we dropped that game, and I thought that we really didn't compete much against that team. We didn't look too good against them and didn't match up particularly well with them. Jalen Duren is a player who's going to give us a lot of trouble no matter what because of how big and athletic he is and how strong he is on the boards. That's a player that's always going to give us trouble. So at this point, we feel like we should have won that game, but if you pay your close attention to it, maybe you thought, differently. When you zoom out and look at what the Detroit Pistons have turned themselves into, you could see losing to them is it's not like the worst thing in the world, you know what I mean? Like it was last year. It's basically what I'm saying. You go into their house, they're fully healthy for the most part. You're going to run into something, you know what I mean? They're going to beat some good teams this year. They may even make the play-in tournament, to be honest with you. So that's something that makes me feel like, do we feel like we should have won that game? Yes. Do we feel like we should have won that game like the last 5? No. We're more likely to win the last 5 games we just played than probably going into Detroit the way they're constructed and going in the way we were. Especially when we didn't show up with the energy necessary to meet them. So that Detroit game, you'll take that on the chin. You can't win them all. But we haven't lost since, and that's really the point. We ain't lost since. Bron had 4 straight triple-doubles. We won all those games. D'Lo got sent to the bench. We won all those games. So, the adjustments that we're making as a team and individually, Dalton Connect's usage is going up. We've been winning all those games. So I think JJ is starting to find some things that work. And we're in a space where we feel good going into the next game against the Utah Jazz, which is a tournament game. I have every reason to believe we're going to win that game, even though I'm high on the Jazz talent. And I'm poised to see them play well despite their record showing that they're not good at all. And I've spent the last couple of days trying to, get people who follow me to believe in the Jazz talent more so than believe in the Jazz overall franchise direction, for this season. Because I think they want to lose. I think they want Cooper Flagg or Ace Bailey or Dylan Harper. I think they want a top 3 pick this year. Or Traore's brother or something. You know what I mean? They want a good player. And them having another losing season is just going to continue to pile on more and more lottery talent on top of what they already have, which is a lot of it. And some really nice veterans, too. Talk about Jordan Clarkson and Markkanen, Collins, Sexton. Those are guys you want on your team. Those are guys in a nutshell you would love to have. So Utah has plenty of good stuff. really good stuff, but their team direction is to lose. So at the end of the day, I think they will try to lose, and if we show up with the intentions to win, we will overcome them. So that's what I'm saying, but don't get it twisted. If they decide they want to shift into winning and you have that mentality, it'll be Detroit all over again. That's really what I'm saying. It's a trap game, but the good thing about it is it has the NBA Cup label on it. So that means Bron and AD are showing up to destroy. We know how they wake up for Cup games. It's different for them for some reason. They really want the Cup every year, it seems. That's something they really take pride in. So you saw the extra energy in the San Antonio game. And I expect they're going to show up big tomorrow. Try to stay undefeated in this tournament. So I have little concern about whether or not we're going to wake up. And that would really be my biggest concern in regards to going up against this talent. Our second unit is the other concern because they do have such great lottery prospects up and down their bench. So if, for example, you get a big game out of Collier, or a big game out of Filipowski, or a big game out of Williams, or a big game out of Taylor Hendricks, who I think may be hurt. I think Walker Kessler is supposed to be coming back against us, which is something that you would expect since everybody does that anyway, but even more so because he's trying to make himself attractive to the Lakers, so he's likely going to play well against the Lakers just the same. So it's a lot of stuff there that makes you think the Jazz are going to wake up for this one. And may want to try to upset the Lakers so that they can potentially find themselves in the mix for the tournament. You know, you're a tanking team, and every win and every loss counts. But for a team with a lot of young players, you would love to beat the defending champions and give the Lakers their first loss in the tournament. So for me, I'm on guard as it pertains to them wanting to win tomorrow. If I'm the Lakers, I'm on guard because this is set up for you to think they're going to tank and for them to come up big and show that they have some really exciting young talent on this team. And if 2 or 3 of them dudes play well, they can beat the person in front of them. And that's the thing about it. You know what I mean? They're going to have some advantages on the basketball floor against us, just like we have an advantage with Anthony Davis that can't be stopped. So you expect that if they lean into those advantages enough, and we don't have the ball fall the right way, this could be a similar game like the San Antonio game. So, you know, it is in our building. That's something that really leans into our favor as well, since we have yet to lose a game at home. And if we come with the right attitude, I'm very confident we're going to beat the Jazz tomorrow. So that's really what it comes down to. I don't expect we'll lose this game. I don't. But I do expect that this could be potentially a surprisingly close game. I could see that. Maybe even an overtime game, believe it or not. That wouldn't shock me at all. Utah's capable. Markin is capable. So you talk about having star power. They got plenty of it. You know, Collins is on a good stretch right now. So, you know, they're a formidable team, man. You gotta respect what they bring to the table. And so that's what I'm saying to everybody. I just think that the Lakers are in a real spot to capture their 6th win. So long as they just keep the right attitude, respect the opponent, protect the house, you know. That's really what it is. So, you know, a lot of conversation, of course, is being had about trades and stuff like that. We did a video on the potential Zion Williamson trade, which is, I think, more rumor than substance, to be honest with you. But I entertained it anyway. And I encourage you guys to check that out if you're interested in it. But, you know, I think that the Lakers are in a position to give up their picks if they want to. The 2 picks that they have, we've committed to using them. I would not be upset if we found a way not to. I heard someone say that they felt that if we're not giving away those picks, I think it was Jovan Buha said, if we don't commit to trading those picks, we're basically punting this season. I think there's a lot of nuance to that. I think there's a lot of nuance to that in the sense that if you give away those picks for the wrong trade, you're probably still punting the season. Or if you make the right trade, you can make a trade that may make you good enough to where you don't need to give up your picks. And maybe out there. You know what I mean? So put it like this. At the end of the season, if the Lakers haven't given up those picks, there's going to be room to say that they punted the season, but there's also going to be plenty of room, depending on what they do, to say, nah, that's not how that actually played out. You know what I mean? Anything short of a championship is going to have people saying that, regardless. But how much validity it holds will depend on how many options are available and what the Lakers ultimately pull off in trade. Because there's a world where you make a trade for Zach LaVine and you're not throwing away any picks. You know what I mean? If you settle on that trade, are we still punting the season if we make the trade for Zach LaVine? You know what I mean? That's my question. I would say no, especially given the way he's playing right now. So, you know, do I want to bring in Zach LaVine? Nah, y'all know I don't. But I think you have to raise the value and the intensity on his acquisition based on how he's looked this season. He looks like Zach LaVine. You know, how healthy is he going to stay throughout the season? If history tells the story, we're about a couple of weeks away from an injury. Knock on wood, God forbid. We don't want people to get hurt, but like that's what history has shown us. He does this and he gets hurt. He does this and then he gets hurt. So, you know, we understand that if Zach LaVine were attached to a very good contract, then there's no reason not to want him on the squad. But since he's on a contract that's going to continue to ascend in value over the years as we go forward, it's still something that I would shy away from, even in a space where people would say, yo, this is something that gives the Lakers a chance. It's like, yeah, but that contract is going to take away a few chances from the future Laker teams. And we always are cognizant of the responsibility we have to future teams if we're thinking like a GM. Especially when you're living off of mistakes that you made in past seasons that's hurting you right now. So, and then you also look at the field and you say, when we are assuming what we're going up against, are we of the assumption that the field is going to all 30 teams is going to be 100% healthy and all intentional on winning? Because what is shown us through 13 to 14 games is that that's not what's happening. That it doesn't require as much to win basketball games in the regular season as maybe as we would otherwise think, because teams are so depleted, because teams are so hurt, because teams are locked in bad contracts that are depleting their overall play in a lot of cases. You know, how good is the field and how much better do we need to be to rise to the top of it? The playoffs is different. You can do great things in the regular season and still get knocked off in the first round. We've seen that before. But as it pertains to how much I need to do to be as good as I need to be, I don't know if we're looking at that the right way. Because some of these teams that we're running into, they're not fully healthy and we're beating them anyway. You know, I think our Laker team has some real significant issues right now. And I don't want to be foolish just to think that just because we're beating a bunch of bad teams that we're going to be able to run up against a good team 7 times and win the series. That's a poor assessment, and I don't want to make that mistake here. But just the same, as we continue to run into teams that we're beating, one has to wonder if what we thought was necessary to win is as necessary. You know, we have to wonder that. Are we about to give away 2 picks when we can actually win with this roster? One thinks you can't win with this roster, but we keep finding ways to get victories with this roster. So it's like, if this is all that's required to win, and we do more, are we not hurting ourselves and biting ourselves in the back in the end? You know what I mean? Shooting ourselves in the foot, rather. So that's also something that needs to be studied by greater minds than myself. But I don't know. I don't want to be fooled by this 5-game winning streak no more than I tell you guys don't be fooled by the 5-game winning streak. But I feel like the Lakers have some key holes in our situation right now. Offensive rebounding, transition defense, depth. And we're still number 4 in the Western Conference. You know what I mean? So how much is that? It holds validity. Only continued success will make it so that it does. And like I said yesterday in a video I made, we're going to get a little more tests coming our way this week as we face some real teams this week. After Utah and Orlando's coming in, they're playing well. You got the Phoenix Suns coming up. You got OKC coming up somewhere down the road. So we gotta be poised for a more difficult competition. So part of our division, OKC part of our division, Phoenix part of our division. These are all really solid teams on paper. If we can really push through this tournament, it'll increase our confidence in our team being able to win without as much needed to make us better. I think that sample size would help some. You always have to take into account depth being a problem. You roll the wrong ankle and it's all bad. But as far as the type of pieces we need and how expensive the piece needs to be in order for us to win, I don't know. I really don't know. You know what I mean? That I need to go get a third star or that I need to get the highest level role player at this point. I'm not sure if that's absolutely required for us to be as good as we're going to want to be. I don't know. And so that's something that I think, if anything, it makes you wonder instead of being certain after seeing the team play this well. So, or rather have this much success despite having not played all that well. I think that's a better way to describe it. I don't actually think we're playing that great. I really don't. And maybe it's not required that you play that great against depleted teams. Maybe true, but it's worth the conversation if nothing else. So, yeah, man, that's where my head is. As far as the Zach LaVine situation, and I'm hearing his name starting to pop up again now that he's starting to look good, and people are dreaming about what his team looks like with him, dream about being able to make a trade without giving up picks, dream about maybe even being able to get some draft equity back from Chicago, although I don't know that they are going to be in that space like they were before we saw him play, Now that he's playing more or less like himself, maybe they can afford to take a pick off the table, because nobody was going to trade for that contract without them throwing in a pick. But now that he looks healthy and is playing great and all this stuff, and then third, if I'm them, I'm probably saying, well, we're going to hold on to that pick. If you want to make this trade with us for this healthy version of him, that's not going to be as expensive to us if I'm Chicago. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. I don't know if that's how that actually equates, but I do want picks back in return for taking on that contract. But the problem is the equity of that is probably made up in the fact that some of that salary that we're sending to Chicago or out in this trade, if it goes to a third team, isn't desirable in and of itself. And it's not like we're throwing out some world beaters and fantastic talent either. So that's also part of it when you consider taking on a Zach LaVine contract. Is that you're sending out struggling Gabe Vincent, underdeveloped players, possibly in Jackson Hayes and maybe Jalen Hood-Schifino, Rui Hachimura, who's been hot and cold this year. So you're not exactly sending out anything anybody really needs, or wants, if you're the Lakers. So I don't know, man. I mean, am I warming up to an idea like that? Only because I value picks so much, and because I really want what I consider trash off my team, would I consider doing anything like that? I think this is that trade there, with him looking as good as he does make you feel like you can get rid of some garbage, maybe bring back some second rounders, and bring back a healthy piece that immediately can make you better. Problem is, you're further depleting your bench, which is body for body a very bad decision when considering Zach LaVine is not expected to stay very healthy. I can make the argument that I don't expect him to stay healthy for longer than the next 3 weeks. So if I have that in mind, that trade is probably not best for me in the long run anyway. It probably doesn't equate to what it is you're dreaming about. So if you're going to assume that it doesn't, then why do the trade? unless they're going to be giving you some future equity or piling on Ayo Dosunmu and some other players to make it so that you have that depth that you don't have at the moment. Other than that, I don't see no reason to be confident that you're going to get back what it is you want. You may be able to get rid of some trash, but is my trash that bad to where I'm willing to take on a multi-year contract that's going to be paying a guy upwards of $56 million who's probably only going to play $30 million worth of basketball every year? The answer is still no, ladies and gentlemen. For me, it's still no. It's still no. I'm warmer on it than I was, but I'm nowhere near hot on that trade at all. No. The only way I'm willing to do that trade is, as I said before, if they're willing to give me first-round picks. Multiple ones. Now, whether they have protections on them or no protections on them, I guess that could be negotiated for sure, but I'm going to want picks, man. I think our team right now is pick poor. That's what I call us, pick poor. When you have 2 picks and needs to trade picks in order to get your team to where it needs to go, you're pick poor. And a team that's pick poor probably should have a young core, like Anthony Edwards and, Julius Randle type age. You do not want to be in your 30s and be pick poor. Especially if you're dreaming on having a guy like LeBron James retiring your uniform, to which will garner no picks in its absence. That's really bad for a team that's going to have to rebuild upon that moment or try to keep afloat with Anthony Davis. Now, are we likely to be able to sign a free agent that will want to take LeBron's place? That really determines a lot. I was listening, I think it was Jovan who also said that he felt that it made sense to hold on to picks if you were guaranteed an opportunity to sign a star. If you're going to sign somebody and they're coming in 2027 or whatever, holding on to your picks will allow you the equity necessary to bring them what they need. But I could argue, Anthony Davis deserves to see those years also have picks in place. And so if you're going to have that much respect for the next star who's coming in, do not lose sight that you still got Anthony Davis on contract at that time too. What about him? Well, you say he may benefit from today. Okay, touche. But tomorrow is going to come around and he's going to need a team with some flexibility at that time. I don't need to wait for the next guy to come in for me to have a certain respect for being pick poor. I got a guy that's going to be here past LeBron James's tenure who I'm going to want to re-sign. We got to think about those years as it pertains to that flexibility. And going all in right now, if it gets him a championship and an opportunity to be MVP, maybe he's all in for that. But I would argue that if it doesn't do either of those things, he's screwed in future years, and this year didn't turn out to be nothing. So you're potentially messing with his future with the franchise. So, it's like I get the thought, you want to go all in for Bron. You want to give Bron an opportunity to get back to the finals. Does trading away your picks effectively shoo you into that? And the answer is absolutely not. It doesn't shoo you in there. If anything, I think you have a better chance of not moving your picks and getting through this field this way, maybe making a marginal move at the deadline to get you somebody, maybe get some guys in the buyout market, trading away some things to get a free opportunity at a roster spot. I think that's probably a less impactful, impactful is not the word, a less hurtful move than making yourself pick poor, throwing it all in, and then expecting to be pleased with that, based on what it is that's going to be available to you upon doing so. When the names are Walker Kessler and Dennis Schroeder and DFS, Dorian Finney-Smith, or, you look over at somebody else and they say, okay, you can give your 2 picks will get you Jeremy Grant. Like, that's not, those trades don't get me where I want to go. Not at all. If I'm going to lean into the chances of something, the chances of me not doing anything major, keeping my picks in hand and getting through the finals is a better risk than me giving away 2 picks for a marginal role-playing starter and expecting that to get me to the finals if I'm assuming things are going to get significantly more difficult with the field. You see what I'm saying? I'd rather guess that I'm going to do fine without doing that than find myself doing something like that knowing that I have full belief that we're still not good enough to win a championship. Because if I get out of this season without a championship, at the very least, I want to have 2 picks in my future. You know what I'm saying? As soon as we get eliminated at any point in time during the playoffs, I'm immediately saying, thank God I got my picks. Immediately. And that's what I want people to see about my perspective. As soon as the season ends, I'm already thinking about next year regardless. Whether we win the championship or not, we're trying to have enough gunpowder, so to speak, to pull the trigger on a trade that can make us better, or find a way to trade up in the draft if we can get that star that you fall in love with, or something. Well, you know, whatever your options will be, you want to be able to have flexibility within that so that you can pull the trigger on whatever option you want. And you trade away your picks, you don't have that flexibility. What you do have is a memory of whether or not you won a championship, and to show that you engaged in something that mortgaged away so much so that you can give yourself a possibility of one. You look back on that don't hold much weight come next summer, regardless of what the reality is. They don't hold much weight. Because you got LeBron James on 1 more year. You got Anthony Davis on a multi-year contract. Them guys are getting older, meaning you're closer to your rebuild and still no closer to having what you need in order to effectively rebuild. You're pick poor and you're older. You see what I'm saying? So it's like we know we're getting older. As long as if we stand still and do nothing else, we know we're older. And as we are older, meaning we need more picks so that we can get out of being older. You see what I'm saying? So no matter how you slice it, for me, being pick poor is the worst circumstance for the NBA Lakers. That's the worst for any team in the league. Unless you have young stars who are going to be in their prime by the time your picks replenish. If I got Wemby, I can do that. I can go all in with all my picks. In theory, I mean, it ain't necessarily the best thing for them either. But let's say I want to give picks away and bring Wemby his next running mate. If I give away all my picks and get Anthony Edwards, I don't care if I don't have no damn picks. You know what I mean? If I got Anthony Edwards and Wemby not even in their prime yet, ready to run. By the time them picks come back around, they're going to what, be 30? Still ready to sign contracts. We're going to be cool regardless. But if you got old stars, yeah, that's not, no. That doesn't mean that you're going to be able to compete. You know, but it does mean that if you have your picks, if you pick rich, when those guys leave here, you can do whatever with those picks to replenish your talent. Or you can build through the draft slowly on a rebuild, tank a couple years in a row, and start this thing all over again like a Utah's doing right now, like Washington's doing right now. You know, and take your chances through the draft, which I think is the safest way for a lot of teams. It's the safest way, even though people think mortgaging is your safer bet. It really doesn't equate to that. And if you look at what the evidence is showing you, it's the teams that don't mortgage everything that ultimately are the richest in talent and have the brightest future and have the ability to tank if they want to. You know what I mean? Those are the teams. I mean, the evidence is in front of us at this point. Look at the Bucks. Look at the Sixers. Look at the Clippers. Like, these teams can't get off the ground. And they don't have any picks to rebuild with, so they just got to be stuck to what they have. That's what you're signing up for when you start mortgaging off your picks for any damn reason, whether good or bad reasons. Allowing yourself to be pick poor effectively hurts the future, regardless of whether or not you're able to capture a championship or not. And hurting the future is more harmful than people give it credit, because the future comes around as soon as the buzzer ends on the finals of whatever year it is. As soon as you either capture that championship or get eliminated, you're immediately in a space where, if you're the GM, it's your responsibility to take all that you have and assess whether or not it's good enough to win. And if it ain't good enough to win, try to make it that. And if you don't have nothing to work with in order to do that, then you're signing up for a mediocre season, regardless. So don't sign up for mediocre seasons. All this talk about, oh, go all in while you got Bron and AD. We're the Lakers. We can always have a Bron and AD. No disrespect to those guys. But the next superstar, if we have a good franchise flexibility situation, we're going to be able to attract a superstar off the strength of the city. It's not going to be hard to get the next superstar in there. It's not. You may strike out a couple years, but you ain't going to strike out for long. Flexibility is what the Lakers' ultimate key has always been. The problem is the Lakers are the last one to know that most years. They are the last one to know that. They think keeping stars happy is the key to their success. Keeping flexibility is the key to your success. It's the key for you. Now, for a team like Sacramento, maybe keeping stars happy, striking it rich in the draft. Those things are most important. For the Lakers, just make sure the place is clean. People are always going to want to live here. We have that up on everybody. And when we look back on the past and when people didn't want to be here, it's because the place wasn't clean. And that's where people get it wrong. It's like, well, the Lakers went through an era where they couldn't get nobody. That's because they had Jim Buss running everything. And they had bad contracts attached to themselves. Mozgov and Dame and all them bad players that we missed out on in drafting poorly. All those good players we missed out on in drafting poorly, brother. You know what I'm trying to say? We had a bunch of trash. And the guys who wanted to be here were still on contract. We had to wait that out. And as soon as they were able to come, when they do, they came. That's what I want people to understand, man. We're not in the same boat with the rest of the league. We have one up on everybody. Because we have the city of Los Angeles, we have the LA Laker brand, and the draw that comes with being a Laker. It just puts money in people's pockets. The Knicks have that same advantage. The Miami Heat have that same advantage. Not too many teams have it. Why does the Miami keep getting stars? Because they never clean. They always pick poor. They always got bad contracts on their thing. I'm telling y'all. That's the only reason why you didn't see KD play for the Heat. Bron didn't return to the Heat. Other people would go to the Heat if they had the flexibility to acquire those people. But because they let bad contracts continue to sign on the dotted line, they always lacking in the ability to draw the biggest name. The biggest name is always going to choose a different situation because the situation is going to be easier for him to win in. And it's like an optical illusion or a misunderstanding amongst the league as to what teams have to do in order to be good, because of mistakes that have been made that have been standing still as people assess those mistakes. You know, this team is this way, this is what's happened, so this is what they need. No, they're this way because they made certain mistakes, misdiagnosing, so to speak, what it is their problem was. That's why, and looking at the Miami Heat, you know, Pat Riley, hopefully he's learned from that. I don't really know, but he was making a lot of big mistakes, man. Signing, you know, bad contracts ever since Bron left. Bosch contract. What's that big dude that they signed? I forget his name, but he's out of the league right now. The one that blocked all them damn shots that they drafted back in the day. Or actually, they picked him up after being a floater around the league. I can't think of his name, but they paid him an absorbent amount of money. That contract was bad. Duncan Robinson contract was bad. Overpaid for Tyler Hero. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. They didn't have to do none of that. All they had to do was keep plenty of picks, keep affordable contracts, and you would have been able to make a trade for Kevin Durant. Their team would look so much better if they just wouldn't be so married to contracts to play, you know, just assessing things the wrong way and paying people the wrong way, man. I tell you. And so the Lakers and the Clippers in the same boat. Clippers could probably get people now. They have a good enough history behind them at this point. Enough Chris Pauls and Blake Griffins and Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, to where people say, okay, that's a formidable squad. All they got to do is keep the place clean. They pick poor. Pick poor. Nobody's going to go there because there's no flexibility. Got this brand new arena everybody love to play in. But they're not going to be able to get anybody of cachet because they can't afford them. They can't afford them because they've been doing things the wrong way. So it's like, I mean, no, the Lakers are the number one team in this regard. There's nobody in a better catbird seat than us. Anytime there's a free agent getting ready to move, somebody's trying to push him our way. Dude don't even want to be a Laker, and ESPN and Vegas talking about guy gonna be a Laker. 6-7 years before he even a free agent, they already putting him on Laker uniform. Like, we have that up on everybody. So why do we need to do so much to keep the superstar in place happy when ESPN is going to funnel the next superstar here no matter what? You understand what I'm saying? I mean, you don't want to make him unhappy, but to like just do anything and everything to make him happy, like you're at the mercy of the superstar choosing you, is a misunderstanding of what it is that you are. And I keep saying it in this camera. The opposite of what the Lakers have been doing is what they need to do to make themselves attractive to those superstars. Keep affordable talent and good contracts on your books. Acquire more first-round talent and second-round talent to keep within your cachet. And then when the next time someone wants to come your way, you have everything to throw at them that doesn't have to come out of your small fund. You know what I mean? Out of your pick situation that's not plentiful. You can build a super team if you want to and still have enough equity to have decent role players, because people will take a pay cut to play in Los Angeles with you and your stars, as to where they won't do that somewhere else. You have a more likely chance of being able to pull off the 3-star model so long as you keep enough equity to make the trades necessary so that the team can be talented. You've just been doing it wrong. You know, every time we get a chance, so Laker fans are trying to pressure people to give away picks. It's because they don't get these concepts. They don't get it. Nobody's communicating to them what it is. And so that's what I'm here to tell y'all, man. The Lakers are in a position over the next 10 years to where if they start doing what OKC did, what Boston did, what Utah's doing, is to where they start not giving away picks, but acquiring them everywhere they can. At the end of the Bron and AD era, you're going to have a lot of gunpowder from which to rebuild your situation. And a nice draw that's going to funnel you the best talent any damn way, man. I'm telling you. It's very easy stuff. It's not hard. Value player development so that the Max Christies and the Bronny Jameses and the Dalton Connects of the world and Jalen Hood-Schifino, whoever you're going to keep, can be decent. Acquire more of that. Trust your scouts, because they have a knack for finding talent out of nowhere. Quincy Olivari and, you know, Austin Reeves, AC. They finding stuff. And continue to bring stuff like that to you. Invest in your farm system. Invest in your scouting system. That's all the Lakers really need to do right now, man. Acquire as much pick equity as possible. That's it. And as you do so, understand why you're doing it. It's not because you want to fill your team full of rookies. It's because you want to have enough gunpowder to trade. And this is how that works. Second round picks first, man, because, you know, in the place we're in right now, it's going to be very difficult to get first rounders unless you take on a terrible contract, as to which that takes away from your value, so it defeats the purpose to a degree. But second rounders anywhere you can. Acquire second rounders anywhere you can. Find a patsy that's going to be happy with giving you a second rounder for Gabe Vincent if you can. Find him and give them Gabe Vincent and take back whatever you can. But that's what I would be doing. Every which way. And every single draft, I would purchase a second round pick. At least one. Two preferably. With cash. With cash. Because you're getting that out of nowhere. You're turning physical American dollars into tradable equity. And as far as I can tell, it's not too many ways you can do that without taking the risk of it not playing well, rolling its ankle, the contract being poor for whatever reason. Second round picks allow you to turn tradable equity, cash into tradable equity. And as you do that, if you accumulate enough of those second rounders, of course you can get you a Rui Hachimura, as we did, with 5 second round picks, or you can trade 3 second round picks, 4 second round picks for 1 first round pick. Get a few of them second rounders, over the next 2 years, and then in 2028, put them things together and buy yourself a first round pick of 2033. You hear me? This is how you do it. You're buying them with cash. You're getting the second rounders with the intention of turning them into a first rounder. Way down the road. Rinse and freaking repeat. Rinse and freaking repeat. I don't care how good the first round pick is, although it does matter because they hold different equity. You understand what I'm saying? And the unprotected first rounder, bad team's first rounder versus good team's first rounder. That part is not as important as just making sure that you value every pick properly. Second round picks and swaps and all these different things. They're very complicated, but the concept is not complicated at all. Acquire tradable draft equity. Turn cash into tradable draft equity. And I know it can be done because we've done it more than once. That's how we got Jordan Clarkson. We traded cash to the Wizards for the second round pick that drafted Jordan Clarkson. So I know this can be done. And you keep on acquiring these second round picks any little which way you can. Every little trade you make, get you a second rounder here, second rounder there. Mash them things together some random year and get you a first rounder. Maybe it's not going to be as simple as you doing it that way, but make it so that the trade has a first rounder coming back. You're making a trade with some guy versus some guy. You're throwing in 2 second round picks. You're getting back a first round pick. And it's the equity of those second round picks that's going to make it so that you have the leverage to ask for that first round pick. And rinse and repeat. By 2036, which is a long time from now, but by 2036, you're going to have so much damn talent for doing things this way and so much tradable equity that whatever superstar is going to be, Wemby, whoever is going to be dope that year, you're going to be able to get him. You're going to be able to get him. And the reason why I think you're going to be able to get him is because you got the Lakers. Another team does this, they don't have the ups on the Lakers. You see what I'm saying? I can't promise the Sacramento Kings they're going to be able to get Wemby if they do this. I can promise them they're going to be rich enough to be in the mix, but they can't make their city Los Angeles. You see what I'm saying? This is for you, LA. This is what you do. And so that's what I'm expressing to the LA team, the Lakers. Clippers, you guys are in such a hole that it's even more important that you do this because you're really pick poor and you got James Harden as your star and Kawhi Leonard as your star, and you're in such a hole that you really have to do this. So this is even more important for the Clippers than it is for the Lakers. In a sense, at least the Lakers have a team that can play right now. Clippers' situation is so bad and they're so pick poor that they don't even have a path to getting better. So it's so important that they do stuff like this. Miami Heat, same thing. Miami Heat, same thing, man. Stop overpaying for guys. Stop letting Pat Riley drag you into the past. Philadelphia, same thing. Philadelphia, get yourself out of this situation by doing exactly what it is I just described to the Lakers. That's how you get yourself out of this situation, man. Get yourself out of these situations. Because at the end of the day, as long as you continue on the path you're on, you're never going to have the fresh young talent that's coming into the league. You may get lucky and find a second rounder that turns into a superstar. It's very possible. But you're more than likely to find more busts in that second round. You're more than likely to have to overpay for any talent that you get, and you're always going to be capped out underneath a championship. And see, that's at the end of the day, some of these teams don't win very much, so they need to get over the hump. And they need the odds of them getting over the hump to be there for them. So it's like, that's what it really comes down to. Can you make your odds better? Can you make your odds better? And going all in for a championship, I'm telling you, for those who are short-sighted in mind, it's always going to make sense to take everything you have and toss it into one random year. Those people are always going to be able to make sense of that to their brain because they're not thinking about nothing but the year they're in. With respect to them, I don't know if they got a terminal disease or what, but like, they don't think nothing's going to happen after this year. But for the teams that have their future in mind and want to build something special, you're going to need tradable equity and young talent in order to make that happen. And anybody that's advising you otherwise is going to find out that they're wrong one way or another when they do things their way. This is what it is. Milwaukee, same thing. You got to get young talent in place, man, and you got to be willing to develop it. It ain't enough to get the stuff. You got to develop it too. And then you got to make good decisions when it's time to pay these people. Because if you pay them the wrong contract, you're putting yourself in a hole. You know, I was listening to somebody yesterday. They were talking about guaranteed contracts are ruining the NBA. Yes, they are. They are. I hate to say it, but it is. If a guy can't play, and he shouldn't be given guaranteed money to play, taking it effectively out of the hands of people who would be able to play, if not for the flexibility that could acquire them. It's hurting the league. We talked about this a couple days ago. The CBA, when you start thinking about what's going to build you a champion and what's going to make you sustainably good, y'all got to start thinking about these things a bit more. The owners got to start thinking about this aspect of the game a bit more, because you got your eyes on other aspects of it and you're allowing this to go by the wayside, and the talent ends up on your roster it's not developing properly. You're showcasing the wrong people, you're paying the wrong people, and you're putting yourself in long-term holes. Mid-term holes. Not necessarily long-term, but mid. 5-6 year holes. And if enough of you teams do that enough times, you're going to have a really bad league, man. And the best names on bad teams that can't win, like Giannis right now. So, you know, and then that equates to people not wanting to watch you and not wanting to pay for paraphernalia and not wanting to come to the building and all of that. So that's where your solution is getting back to the most important aspects of this, which is player development and pick equity responsibility, so to speak. It's the youth. It starts and ends with the youth. Pick equity. So, yeah, that's what it is, man. Because at the end of the day, y'all keep playing these older guys and you can't really get nothing for them in the trade market, as we say all the time. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, they can run a play. You know, you want to keep Kyle Lowry on the floor because he can run a play, and the young guy don't know how to run a play. The young guy messes up on defense. Young guy doesn't have the most responsible habits in the NBA yet. Okay, I mean, hey, that's a real thing. But you keep running Kyle Lowry out there, and there's a lot of problems with that too. He can't play anymore. He can't get you nothing in the trade market. He's always out. Every 3 weeks he's hurt. Like, these are the type of things. It's like, so you got problems over here, you got problems over there. Which problems can you live with? And the problems that you can probably live with is the stuff that come with the young guys who are going to learn. If you play them enough, they're going to figure it out. They're going to learn what they need to learn. Versus the old guy who's already learned, but his body's not going to go into a progressive space. That's the good thing about youth. It progresses better. The upside is always on an incline so long as injuries don't take over. They're always getting better. You know what I mean? So it's like that makes more sense in the long run for every single franchise in the league who's going to continuously, progressively see talent funnel into the league. Who's going to continuously have needs for a certain unit that they have that are going to need to make it so that they need to make trades in order to build what they need to build to complement whatever it is they're trying to retain. That upwards motion is only aligned with the upside of the youngsters. It does not work when you're talking about the old guys. No one wants to acquire old guys in trade. They can't be traded for picks, which represent young future talent. You see what I'm saying? It's very easy for my brain to see this, but for some reason, I don't see the evidence that this is something that a lot of people who are being paid millions of dollars really understand or look at this way. For me, this is easy as putting one foot in front of the other and walking down the damn street. Hey, this ain't hard for whatever reason. But, you know, it's like people don't get this, man. They don't get it at all. And they keep putting themselves in holes, man. Real bad holes. Philadelphia-like holes. Clipper-like holes. It's like, yo, this is all avoidable. All of these problems are very easy to fix if you just take the time to do so. Start the process of getting tradable equity and stop giving it away for what people are selling you. Oh, this guy can do this, and this. Look what he's done for 15 years. He can do this for you. No. Ignore those people. They have their own interests wrapped up in what it is you're doing. And they're taking the leverage they get from you to other places. That's why it's so important that they sell you this bullcrap. That's bullcrap. They don't have your best interest in mind. They have their own. So they're always going to want you to take a chance on a vet and pay him $200 million because he's already proven himself for the last 20 years. No. Hell no. What's the trajectory on that guy? Down, right? Then why are you going to have it so that you're paying him up? What the hell you got to sign? Why are you signing him to that? It gets more expensive and it goes forward. But he's getting older as time progresses. So that means he's less likely to be able to perform. Why in the hell would I agree to anything like that? See, that's why, for me, some of the stuff that goes on in the NBA, it's like, man, people aren't really focused on what they need to be focused on. They're not paying close enough attention to what it is that's actually happening there in order to make responsible decisions. And just because they're being paid a lot of money, it's like people trust them. But they don't see the forest for the damn trees. These are not hard concepts, fam. Don't sign him to that. He's been hurt for the last 3 years in a row. And his hotshot representation comes in and tells you that you need to pay him $220 million? He's playing an average of 50 games a season. His team ain't been out of the playoffs. His team ain't even been to the playoffs in some cases. And you're going to play him a contract that gets progressively more expensive as he enters the 30s? His 30s? Like, what? No, friend, no. He wasn't that damn healthy when he was in his 20s. Why the hell are you going to pay him more money every year as he starts to get closer to 40? It's just like, whoever's convinced people that this makes sense is a con man, friend. Whoever convinced you that it's the lesser of two evils to make sure that some old washed up dude knows how to run a play functionally is better to have than a young guy who's going to get progressively better, was a con man, friend. That person, they were selling you beachside property in freaking Detroit. So for me, it's like, yo, I'm gonna use my voice to the best of my ability to continue to embed this into my channel so it's out there in the atmosphere that this is how you should be thinking if you actually want your team to someday be good enough to be good enough. That's really what it is. As long as people keep on doing things the way that these generation of GMs are doing things, you're gonna have a bad league. You're gonna have teams that just suck. Your teams are going to be going on 5-game winning streaks because they run into a bunch of teams that did things the wrong way over and over again. So what the Lakers going through? Injuries are half the problem. These injuries were led up to by decisions that shouldn't have been made. A lot of these teams, the correlation between them not being very healthy and the choices they made for their roster go hand in damn hand. The only team that didn't have that problem was the Memphis Grizzlies, who I could argue are doing this on purpose every year so that they can acquire more young talent. This is what they've been doing. They have the worst injury issues every year, and somehow they end up with a Zach Edey, end up with Ja Morant, end up with Desmond Bane. You're looking at this. You got the deepest team in the league, and they're still hurt. Why are they hurt? Is it that they're trying out the young talent that they keep picking up? And that they need these big old contracts out of the way so that they can showcase these people and they understand this? Yes, that's exactly what it is. Memphis is doing things correctly, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, it's exactly what's happening here. So, yeah, man, some of y'all teams need to get your head on straight. Milwaukee, Philadelphia, Miami, LA Clippers, LA Lakers, several others. All that stuff y'all been doing, scrap it. Shift into becoming pick rich. It's your way out of the holes you're in. It's your way out of doing things the wrong way going forward. It's your way out of having fans unhappy with you and all these different things. Turn into being pick rich, whatever that takes. Do that and be patient. Video 44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.